Hello, Salvatore Cospito. Somebody knows me. I'm the CEO of Ritmo. We are working with the IAB Spain and the IAB Europe for the work groups to a standardization of the retail media. So, in what we are doing is building a network of retail media, where we are speaking with retailers and brands, because what we see in the market that is, it seems that the people think that the retail media is just the product sponsorship, but Amazon is not doing only the product sponsorship, and the things of this big wave is more than what we are seeing now. So we are pushing on the Spanish market, and we are soon in Europe. But let's speak about the roundtable that we have now in this debate. In the last 5 years, we always speak about the measurement, like with the bit scary, because with the poster party cookie rates that we had in the industry. So we would like to close this debate speaking about the retail media measurement. So we have here the good folks to do it. So I would like to leave them to present themselves. So Ben starts if you want.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see you all here today. Really interesting topic that we're all heavily weighing in on, and it's great to see initiatives like this happening. So just want to call that out. My name's Ben. I lead on ad tech and data partnerships for Ocado Retail. That's part of the supplier services team. So in effect, my main focus is in enabling our suppliers or advertisers, whichever hat on you've got, in connecting with the right customers outside of Ocado.com. So from the ad tech perspective, it's looking at our tech stack, which ad tech vendors are we utilizing. And then on the data partnership side, it's looking at data partnerships that we can launch in market. The trade desk, obviously, I have to get that one out there as the most recent example, but also in data partnerships with our suppliers who have a lot of first party data, and looking at some really interesting use cases in the market that we can explore. Yeah.
Laura?
Thank you. I'm Laura Bade. I'm responsible for retail media at Wavemaker Global. Wavemaker, for those who don't know, is a full funnel media agency operating under the umbrella of Group M. So working within the same group as lovely Jason that we saw earlier today. We manage large advertisers from different tools. So just to name a few, Colgate, Palmolive, Danone, Audible, and so on. So I've been in the advertising industry for nearly 2 decades. So I have a multi-channel background, and it's never been a dull moment. But I have to say that I actually love how retail media is transforming this space.
Hi everyone, my name's Mark James and I look after the European business for Perpetua. For anyone that doesn't know Perpetua, we're an ad tech company. Mission is to build easy to use tools for agencies and in-house media teams to buy retail media ads. In terms of scale, there's about $2 billion a year in retail media ads that go through Perpetua's pipes. And our presence is pretty reflective of what Daniel shared earlier in terms of Amazon being our biggest marketplace, closely followed by Walmart, Instacart, and then partnerships with the likes of Criteo and Citrus Ads.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everyone. So lastly, Lavinia, nice to meet you all at the Trade Desk. I work in the data partnerships team here at the Trade Desk, based in the French office. So very excited to be here to see old faces, new faces. Privileged to be here, and thank you for the very interesting talks earlier. In my role on a daily basis, I work with a very large, let's say, portfolio of partners from retailers, of course, but also telco, data partners, optimization partners, measurement partners. So it definitely gives me a very nice sense of where the ad tech industry is going. But definitely for me personally, retail is probably the most exciting. Also, given my background with Ben, we were both at dunnhumby Tesco's before. So coming back into the ad tech space after several years in the retail space is very exciting. And I guess several of you have already touched on how it's expanding. So yeah, very exciting times.
Thank you very much. This is kind. We have an ad tech, we have an agency, and we have a retail. So I think that we have all the ingredients to speak about the measurement. But before to start, maybe Laura, we can clarify what is the closed loop measurement and how does the retail media enable the effective measurement?
Oh, so that's a great question. And I think people before us talked about this. It's a recurring theme. So retail media brings closed loop measurement to the table. And We all know the famous question, or not question, but statement from an advertisers. I know half of my investment, my advertising budget is wasted. The problem is I don't know which half. So this has been the holy grail, connecting advertising with customer purchases for a long time in the industry. And retail media just does that by directly connecting advertising impressions with omnichannel transactions in a privacy safe environment, connecting it to business results. So by directly matching customer ID level data with impressions and with omnichannel, actually sales at SKU level, granular sales at SKU level, it's transforming the way we advertising and optimizing our advertising budgets. And it's big. It's actually huge. We saw earlier that it's estimated to become the same size as TV advertising. And that is because it's a full funnel game. As Tim, I'm not sure if Tim is still in the room, alluded earlier with his question. It's moving out of the bottom funnel. So it's not just on platform. Bottom funnel activation is not just physical store activation, is moving up the purchase funnel through plugging into different DSPs and activating across the entire web. It's also not just online purchase data that we get access to. I think Jason said earlier before in response to a question from the public that it's also in-store customer purchase, so physical store customer purchase behavior through the card loyalty data that retailers hold. So it's a huge business. And for our advertisers, what it means that we move from brand-led outcomes to commerce-led outcomes. And that is truly transforming the industry. And we increasingly see clients talking about holistic trade and marketing budgets. And that is placing retail media as the glue that is bringing the entire organization, so our client's organization together, from marketing to sales and finance. So it's a huge conversation, this holistic measurement.
I'm agree with you, but I think that we have to digest how the retail media is arriving on our planification in the agency. But Mark, would you like to add some on the question of Laura?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about what this means for media effectiveness, which is obviously a hugely important topic. But I feel like we didn't talk enough about actually something Michelle alluded to earlier, which is what this means for the customer experience. And I think this interplay between media and commerce can truly unlock the potential to deliver much better customer experiences. We understand, like, what does that journey look like from the first ad a consumer sees through to their first purchase? But then what do they do with you over their lifetime? The best example I have of this is very pertinent to me right now as a new father. I think those that are parents know that once you find nappies that work for your baby, you're not going to change brands. And often those companies have lots of different offerings around the life cycle of having your baby. And I think once you understand like what drives a consumer to purchase that nappy for the first time, and then what is the best experience for the consumer, the way that you understand that is like how many times they're coming back and purchasing from you, how many times you're able to put them onto, what is the lifetime value of the consumer there, unlocks an equation, which is what media works alongside commerce to provide value for my business, but ultimately leads to more engaged consumers. And yeah, that's generally speaking a great thing for the consumer experience, as we're getting more and more bombarded with advertising on these retail media platforms. So yeah, I would say the media effectiveness piece is one key part, but also the consumer experience is something we should be measuring and thinking about too.
Thanks. Then we see that the measurement is something that is very key for brands, but I think that as a retailer, transforming media, so how do you demonstrate to the brands all the capabilities that you have now, and of course, what you could have in the future?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think it's in establishing, I think this has been mentioned more than once, around establishing what your USP in market is. Why would I come to Ocado over another retailer? We're a scaling retail media network, nowhere near as mature as some of the other retailers in market, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because what we're looking at right now is building from the ground up. Who are we as a retailer? What do we bring to market? So for instance, some of the key attributes we have, I think probably the best one is in online only. Online only means that there doesn't need to be a tap of a loyalty card. We capture 100% of the customer data. The loyalty that our customers have, this sounds like a sales plug, but I'm just going through really us as a retailer, who we have as our customer base is highly loyal. So if you think about media activations, if a supplier is to turn to us and to run a media activation, we're pretty confident activation of media would then bring them back into Ocado, not to go to another retailer. So those are just some instances of where we look to build that understanding with the end supplier as we move forward into areas like Mark touched upon on CLTV, utilizing a long-term view rather than immediate ROAS, for example, and being able to demonstrate how different learnings coming out of campaigns can be used for the next one and the next one. And then we can use the data to prove how that's influencing customers. And then one of the pieces that I really want to be pushing out there in market, we're on this journey as well, but it is around incremental uplift, incremental studies. I think it's one of the best demonstrations of retail media. I think it truly shows how the data can sing, right? We are the ones who can, two different sets of users, we can say they are the exact same behaviors as one another and then prove the outcome off the back of it. And that goes back into that learning case. And the final piece to tie this all together in demonstrating our capabilities, and something I think often gets lost is that, yes, we're supplier services, but we also need to prove back to the retailer, to us as a retailer, that we are driving things like customer retention and loyalty. We're a retailer first, retail media is scaling. So in doing that, having that connection between the advertiser and us as the retailer, and then obviously the end customer then having much more engaging experience, that's our best way of proving the capabilities in the long run.
That's right. I had the opportunity to know the Ocado technology that you have behind, because we are all digital and we think always in digital signage. So as many technology the retail implements, not only facing with just the users, but behind in the process, as Amazon is doing. I think that the capability measurement will be more, no? In that sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I don't think anybody's cracked it right now, in truth. And that's the exciting part, right? That's where we're going on this journey where people are looking at the next 5 years, because it's going to take time to get there. I think standardization will ultimately get us there in the long run. That's a big point, and one that I'm sure has been made today and will be made in the future, is around being able to standardize what measurement looks is actually how we're going to grow the capabilities, because then there'll be this common understanding of what we're all working towards. But like I say, it's a general trend.
Correct. But we are speaking about digital signage, so we are speaking about the first party data, Lavinia. And I think that one of the things that we are speaking about data in general, we think about if we are activation team or on maybe audiences to activating programmatics, but I think the data is more than that. With first party data, we know that we can get insight that is potentially good for the brands. The brands, they don't know how the user is behaving on the distribution, on retail. Let's speak about this point about
the importance of first party data measurement. Yeah, for sure. We definitely think that it's now more than ever for advertisers who actually offer their products in the retailer stores or online. It's the most important time to present to use data to understand, to close that loop basically of the effectiveness of their media campaigns, to understand and gap that bridge between online and offline. We definitely believe that adding data to all parts of the funnel will deliver effective measurement. We think that we've observed 3 key types of insights. Obviously, ROAS. Yes, it's the most standardized to present across the industry, but it definitely has its perks. We can see a lot. We can optimize in real time with ROAS. And this is something key and new that we're seeing not only in the US, but more, and even through our Ocado partnership, being adopted in the European space. And despite the advantages, which are limited for advertisers to be able to optimize in real time and invest their dollars more effectively, we also see advantages, a ton of advantages for retailers, because it's a new revenue stream basically for them. The key problem with ROAS, obviously, is you don't really see that incrementality, that user level incrementality, but that's what retailer sales lift is for. And that's where you can actually go into doing basket analysis, and you can go and see what makes that user tick, as you said, Mark, what brings that sensitivity for purchasing. So I think that the 3 key questions that an advertiser should retain in their minds is where can they get that rich first party data? What are their local providers or European or global providers? Basically, what are the retailers that offer that? How fast or in what frequency can that data be provided? That's another one. There's obviously a lot of differences from retailer to retailer. There's some that can provide data daily and some that they can provide data monthly. So obviously that can help in different ways. And obviously also what are the use cases that they're trying to solve? Are they okay with just ROAS? Or do they want to go even further on and do sales lift? But at the end of the day, for sure, adding first party data to obtaining a closed loop, omni-channel and cross-funnel measurement is key.
And of course, I don't know if you want to add, Mark, something.
Yeah, just going to add something really quick and totally agree with you, Lavinia. I think one piece of missing context when we look at things like ROAS and even incremental sales lift is, let's say I did an incremental sales lift study that showed I drove 20% more sales. On the face of it, that looks awesome. But if the market has grown 50%, actually, you're not doing a brilliant job. And so I think this whole notion is very important for advertisers to be what I would describe as market aware. And that isn't just looking at your own data, nor just the retailer's data, but looking at the retailer's data in the context of the market in which you exist and how your numbers compare to what like the entire available market is and how much that has grown. Because it's these shiny lights of big numbers and metrics we all know and have grown to love can be a little bit blinding sometimes.
It's important to have the insight for what is doing well on your planification and what not is doing so well. So at an interview like 2 weeks ago in Programmatic Spain, the medium that we manage in Spain, he told me that it's good to know the path to conversion, but it's more good to know the path to no conversion. So I think that from Trade Desk perspective, I think that is very good to know that retailers are doing the data sharing. They are all taking the data sharing as care in that sense to share their data and get more insight of how the user can behave in retail. My question on this sense is when we speak about the data sharing, we speak about the privacy and we come in the data clean room concept. First of all, Laura, if you would like to clarify what is the data clean room, and then we can go deep about how the data clean room can help the topic of the roundtable, the measurement.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to mention something to the point before first. So obviously, that's been a recurring theme. Fragmentation in Europe is even bigger than anywhere else in the world. And we have retailers in Europe from both sides of the spectrum. We have retailers that do not share any type of data at all. And we have retailers that are very good at sharing data. And I would just call one that is not in the room today, that is Amazon. So moving back to, that's a challenge for us, having to operate on this broad spectrum as media agencies and on behalf of our clients is really challenging. Moving to your question about clean rooms. Clean rooms is not a new concept. So we've seen clean rooms even when Facebook and Google launched this 5 or 6 years ago, and more recently with Amazon launching their Amazon Marketing Cloud. So we see clean rooms as a huge potential for joining that first party data in a privacy safe environment. And there is progress being made with different clean rooms I've seen, including in Europe, and progress. Now, the basic concept of clean rooms is bringing in customer ID level data from multiple sources, matching that. So using a model, mathematical model to match those sources and then hashing out the PII data in this process. So I said that ID level data comes into a clean room, and what leaves a clean room is a data and insight-centric solution for activation or for strategy. So that's the basic concept of clean rooms. We see it as a huge potential from, first of all, closed loop measurement. Second, for proving incrementality, because that's the holy grail of advertising and what retail media brings to the table. And proving incrementality is actually the question that I get most often from our clients. So now imagine a space where you bring in multiple retailer data into a clean room, combined with advertising data. So it's almost like building a always on steroids from the ground up. So that's to me the potential that clean rooms have in advertising industry.
So Ben, make feel you more comfortable with clean rooms, the data sharing?
Yeah, and much to Laura's point, it's the potential. It's what they actually can offer for the future. And I was sitting there giggling about the retailers having all of their data in the same place and collaborating. I mean, who knows what happens in this space, right? My goodness, like I'm not going to sit here and rule anything out, but sitting in a retailer, I think that's a little bit further down the line. So I look at data clean rooms, and when you relate it back to measurement and the potential that they can unlock is in cross-platform attribution, for example, right? So if you've got multiple end vendors, and historically it would have been a one-to-one connection with each of them, it just couldn't have happened. It was just no case for it happening. But where we're now with multiple clean rooms in market, that definitely doesn't seem like it's too far in the future. Now, just because it's there and that the technology can connect everything together doesn't mean it's all of a sudden going to happen overnight. And I spoke to the point around standardization, that it feels like if we get to a better place in standardization, the walled gardens may, and I'm not speaking for any of them if they're in the room, but may well then consider enabling cross-platform attribution. And us as a retailer, we're not exactly going to look at the use case and go, right, this ad tech vendor isn't delivering performance versus this one. It's more looking at what is the objective we're trying to get to. Maybe the combination of ad vendor 1 and 2 works better at the upper funnel, and then middle funnel consideration works better with the others. So then we can make sure we're strategizing with our suppliers in the right activations and using measurement to prove that case out. And that is what clean rooms can hopefully deliver in the future.
Completely agree. On technology point of view, Lavinia and Mark, I would like to know what role they play, the data clean room. I don't know if you would like to add something to what Ben said.
Yeah, very quickly. Obviously, we have partnerships with several companies all over the world. Clean rooms are definitely several of our partners. I think that, yeah, as Laura and Ben, I fully agree with what they've both said. I feel that once we understand the use case that a clean room can solve for, we can definitely unlock the opportunities that it can bring. So if it's insights, great. If it's activations, we're going to have issues today. Definitely for insights, it's fantastic. But I also will draw another factor into the equation as long as we have that common identifier. So I definitely want to touch on this identity, especially at the Trade Desk. I feel you've all seen the success of UID2 across Namer, across APAC, and how that's helped unlock this problems the current problems that we have with measurement, standardizing, unlocking all of these points that you've raised. And I think identities to consider it for driving more, measurement reportings with clean rooms.
Good point, man. Maybe the activation is not related to only one technology, but maybe something that maybe Europe is doing for work groups, for the privacy point of view about the open RTB protocol. So how we can share information between all the platforms that we have, especially in programmatic, with way that the data clean room is respected in all supply chain that we have in programmatic. Good point, Lavinia.
Yeah, and just 2 cents on the important role that clean rooms will play. I think we've clarified there's no Amazon employees in the room, but there may be some Amazon shareholders. And if you hopefully would have seen Andy Jassy's letter last week to all shareholders. And a pretty decent chunk, actually, of the letter was about Amazon Marketing Cloud. I don't think 12 months ago we would have predicted that was a topic that Andy Jassy would be raising to all shareholders in that format and talking about how important it is for their future. We're talking about, outside of China, the largest e-commerce company in the world. And so it's clearly an important part of their strategy. I think looking at it through the lens of the ad tech platforms, and I'm talking from the lens in which we look at it, the activation is where we're going to be able to provide the game-changing differentiation for brands. And let's just be clear, we're not there yet, and I agree with Lavinia. But speaking of use cases that we're testing right now, like we have ambitions to build one-click integrations between clean rooms and media networks wherever they exist, whether it's Amazon's DSP or other places. And that has to be the future and the importance that it plays for brands and agencies in their media buying process. Yeah, I'm sure we're all aiming towards having that. I think 2023 is going to be an exciting space for media activation, but it's work in progress.
Okay, so all the roundtable try to predict the future. So we have to do the same. So I would ask you, all of you, for the next 12 months, and if you have more view, you can speak about the next 2 years, maybe. What is your prediction about the measurement in retail media?
So to your point earlier, predicting the future, I think I read a great book a few years ago that's called What's the Future or Why It's Up to Us. So it's not predicting the future per se, it's more creating scenarios and see what works. And then obviously there will be setbacks, there will be delays, course correction on, but having the North Star in mind is what driving our industry forward. Challenges for the next 2 months 12 months to address for the next 12 months to address. So I would say, and I think everybody here mentioned that, is fragmentation. And it's not just fragmentation of retailer, it's not just fragmentation of advertising formats, it's not just fragmentation of how we define attribution, it's everything basically. So I think that is one of the challenges that I'm hoping will become less of a challenge in April 2024. So when we all get together here in a year, we will talk less about certain types of fragmentation and more about how we measure incrementality with retail media. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we have from our clients, because our clients do not have an infinite pool of money. They have to pick right retailers. So fragmentation is alongside incrementality, one of the key topics for the next 12 months. And then I would say getting retailers to tap into that value, unlock that value exchange. So making more data available and more robust data available for advertisers to be able to make more data-driven or data-informed decisions in the future.
Lavinia?
Thank you. I think I'll take 3 key takeaways if possible. So one, I guess, is really trying to unlock the full potential of transaction data, not just for measurement, but also for optimization. And you can address it in a server managed service way. We definitely hope to see that in the next 12 months more and more. And we definitely see, at least through our connections with the different CPGs we work with across the world, we see that demand. So we definitely hope to see more and more of that, because obviously it's not just useful at the end of the campaign. This transaction data is very useful throughout the campaign to driving better strategies and better investments. 2, I guess it's trying to see, or we hope to see over the next 12 months, advertiser providing us feedback on the existing solutions, leaning in, testing the existing solutions. There's so many alternatives to date of brand lift or brand lift studies, incremental reach. There's a ton of them. I don't even know what to prioritize on a daily basis. Honestly, there's that many solutions. What I need to know is what advertisers need, what works, and where they want to invest their money into, because that's also what will help us prioritize, focus, and deliver those results. Otherwise, if we go completely in all directions at the same time, it's going to be very hard to address everyone's needs. So if we can help building that prioritization list that the market generally needs, we can also go towards standardization. And 3, starting to look more closely towards identity and using that within our measurement and not only targeting strategies. And again, Will mentioned that we're in alpha test with EUID. We see it very much applied in the US and in APAC. And we're very excited from the Trade Desk perspective to see it live and being applied within our client strategies across Europe.
Thank you.
So, me 2 things. One is that we just got to make this a lot easier for brands and agencies to actually measure. If I take what Laura mentioned about the potential of clean rooms, absolutely true. But today, if you're a brand or an agency, you need to be a data scientist that understands SQL or have access to that, which is a very clunky, time-consuming experience for brands and agencies. And either the retail platforms or even the ad tech platforms need to do a much better job of making this data easily accessible and digestible for brands to utilize. So I think just making it easier is one. And then the second I've talked about a little earlier is some benchmarking. I think we're at the point now where we need to have some level setting of what does good look like so that we're not all shooting in the dark from a measurement perspective. Does that mean that by geography and by vertical and by category, we have some ideas of what the industry is generally seeing? Possibly that's the way to go. I'm not sure of the answer, but I just hear too many times from customers like, am I doing a good job? Yes, no. And I don't think we have the right data and frameworks to answer those questions really right now.
Then
Some really good points. I think one more for me to add on, and again, as part of retailer, is the consideration of the customer. So I think in Daniel's report, it had a stat around Mondelez talking about buying 80% of their media in the future will be personalization at scale. It's something that they've been driving in market for a while now. What does that mean from a retailer or from a customer perspective? It's a great initiative. It means that we're going to be delivering better ad experiences for our customers. But then it's not like we're going to go to every one of our customers and say, oh, here's how you've all engaged with this campaign. We are the ones who have to understand what does that actually mean? What did it deliver in terms of their change in behavior? Was it for the right reason? So it's a big piece to the puzzle, is getting to what measurement is actually in the purpose of. Suppliers are the ones who are funding retail media growing. They're changing where they're spending their media pounds. They're looking at initiatives like personalization at scale. How do we connect all of that together and use measurement to learn what's working and make sure we're driving in the right direction? But at all times, and I speak having worked for 2 retailers now, is that the customer comes first in every instance.
if I can add something, or what you say, I think that on retail side, we need to demonstrate what we can measure on the retail side. But on the other side, we have something that we have. There are 2 points that the brands should move forward. The first one is, for me, is that they have to go out from the last click model, because they have to know that this is there's not zero optimization. Last click is zero optimization. The second one is that they should have the trade marketing team and the advertising team join in the same meeting, maybe, because to measure the things in the sales team is quite different from the advertising. We should try to understand each other, because they think that the advertising team is not selling any product. They are only the ones that selling product with the king of the team of the trade marketing team. So I think that these are 2 points that we are looking some brands in Europe that they are doing something sensation by the advertising team and the trade marketing team. Thank you so much, Ben. Laura, you would like to add some point?
Yes, I would like to add something about fragmentation, and thumbs up to IAB Europe. I think you have all seen the first slide when we started, that Marie-Claire shared with us the work that Retail Media, IAB Europe, Retail Media Working Group is doing to drive a unified vision in retail media and improve standardization that we all collectively contributing these days. This is a great initiative. Well done.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks again, Laura, Mark, and Lavinia.
Thank you.